Well, I hope you guys had a great lunch. I just wish I had as nice sneakers as Sam has, by the way. This is going to be a lightning round discussion, but we are really psyched to have our friend Sam Altman here. Right before the break at the main session, we were talking about the impact of technology on young people's lives, whether it's mental health, learning, et cetera. And what I want to do is have a brief conversation with Sam, and then Sam talk a little about the partnership that we're going to announce today. So I guess I would start with a very basic question, Sam. Quick answers, Stanford style, is the following. What could AI do that would, over the next few years, transform the education system in this country? I mean, we've had all issues with learning loss, the pandemic, et cetera. So how could AI, used wisely, have a massively positive impact on education?
It's one of the areas that we're most excited about. We talk about it a lot. It was really where ChatGPT kind of initially took off. Seeing what educators are doing with ChatGPT, seeing what students are doing with ChatGPT has been quite remarkable, to say nothing of all of the applications people have built on top of our API. But the dream, of course, is that learners can have personalized one-on-one tutoring for anything they want to supplement their education and to make teachers more effective. And seeing what's happening here, even the way I use it myself to learn new things, it's been quite remarkable. So we're in early innings, but if you just look at the existing tools and what people are doing with them, it's been quite impressive.
And let me ask a question. Do you think this will benefit all kids, or do you think it'll benefit kids who go to fancy private schools and have much more access to resources and technology, or do you think it could actually be a leveler?
I think it'll benefit kids without that access the most. I mean, my hope is that it helps everyone, but if you look at what's happening now, it's a quite accessible tool.
And
part of our mission is to make really helpful AI available for free. And we don't sell data, we're not running ads. We just want to put this as part of our mission in people's hands. So we have a significant free product that we run with the GPT 3.5 model. And that's just available, which we think is really important to what we do.
Do you worry at all, I mean, wearing my Stanford professor hat, do you worry at all that it will do the job for kids so they won't learn, right? That's the biggest question I think as a parent and as a teacher is, hey, just turn it over to ChatGPT. And then you don't go through the learning process of having to write something or whatever.
I think people said that about calculators.
Mm-hmm. No, that's correct. By the way, you're totally right.
Certainly people, it was just a little bit, the students that were older than me, I mean, I heard the stories of it, didn't happen to me directly, but the students that were older than me in high school, when this new thing called Google was getting popular, were told by their teachers that they had to promise not to use it, because if you could just look up any fact, you wouldn't memorize stuff, and then you wouldn't learn. Humans are tool users, and we better teach people to use the tools that are going to be out in the world. I mean, young people are always better at using tools and adopting the new ones faster. So this is just AI tools are going to be part of the world. But it won't be that we're lazy. It's that we get to operate at a higher level of abstraction. We'll do more. The people who are starting kindergarten now, by the time they're done with 12th grade, I hope they're more capable than the most capable 12th graders of today. They will be able to operate at a more sophisticated level with this very powerful tool that can do not just what a calculator can do, but lots more. Not just what a computer of 2 years ago could do, but lots more. And this is great. This is the way of the world. This is how we continue to level up society. We build tools that let us see further, do more, and to not teach people how to use those. And of course, the things that we teach and the way we evaluate, that's going to have to change. But to not teach people to use those would be a big mistake.
So let's talk for a second about what we've been talking about in terms of partnering between Common Sense Media and OpenAI. Can you give a big picture sense? I have a couple of questions. We're psyched about it, but can you give an overview of what we've been talking about?
Yeah, we want to figure out how to make this tool safely, responsibly, and broadly available to teens and people who are going to use it as part of their educational experience, and work with you all to figure out how to do that.
And so one of the things we've talked about is explain, you're now going to have a lot of GPTs built on top of your core platform, right? How will that work?
One of the things that we have seen early on, and which we thought was a great sign, is that people want ways to build very simple and lightweight customizations on top of ChatGPT. So you want to use it in a particular context, and you don't want to have to sit there and prompt it and say, hey, I'm trying to learn about science or learn about biology, and this is what I currently know, what do I do? But how much of that we can automate, and people want a way to share those. So GPTs are a way to customize versions of ChatGPT for a particular use and then easily share those.
And it's going to be, for us Luddites, it's sort of going to be like an app store. Was that fair to say, or how would you describe it?
I don't think we know yet exactly how people are going to want to use it. It could be like you think about using these different things at different times, or it could be you want, as ChatGPT gets smarter and smarter, for it to just know which GPT to use at that moment. We just released something in beta where you can call out to different ChatGPTs. So I don't think we know. It's too early to say what that's going to look like.
Because what we've talked about is, in the same way that we rate movies, TV, video games, apps, you name it, that we would then rate the GPTs for educational value, safety, all the different stuff that really would matter to your average user. But this world is coming, right? We're going to see this within months, right?
Well, I mean, it's there now. The GPTs are launched, but it's early.
And do you think that lots of small developers will build individual products, basically, that they'll sit about on top of your bigger platform?
Yeah, there have been millions of GPTs that have been developed. We have millions of developers on the platform.
And then let me ask you this, because we've talked about doing a version with you guys, basically a teen version or a kids mode, common sense mode, whatever we're going to call it, of ChatGPT. How do you think that would be different than, say, what an adult would get?
I think we don't know yet.
Yeah.
This is like a new world, and it's early, and we got to sort of explore and figure out what that would look like.
But off the top of your head, what would you want to do? I know you're not a father yet, but what would you want, like a 14-year-old, to have a different experience than, say, a 30-year-old?
I mean, there are all the obvious things that you sort of want that would be age appropriate versus not, and I think. But certainly, what I would say is I would really want my 14-year-old to use these tools. So I think we've got to find a way to make it so that we as a society and we as individual parents, educators, whatever, are very comfortable with teens using these tools. I think that it's going to be such an important part of how work gets done and also how people just sort of live in society.
And you see it as that every kid in an ideal world is going to have their own sort of personalized tutor.
I think that'll be one of many things that everybody gets in a world. But I think we could say every kid is going to have or every teen or every adult is going to have a personalized AI. Learning will be part of that. But this can become a huge leverage point on the way people live their lives in general.
And it won't just be about school, and it won't just be about education. It'll be about like every aspect of your life.
I think education is one of the most important areas that we've seen so far. But as time goes on, people, if you think of how many different things you can do on your phone, that is a very general purpose technology. And I think AI is the same kind of thing. And trying to frame it too much as like, oh, this is AI does this thing or AI does that thing, I think is a mistake. AI is a new way to do most things we do right now with technology. AI will be a new way to use the internet. AI will be a new way to do work more productively. AI will be a new way to discover science, a new way to get better healthcare. It really is like a pretty deeply enabling new technology.
And when you think about it, do you think that could then transform your personal healthcare experience, your personal, yeah?
Sure.
Let's take healthcare for example.
Yeah.
Give an example or two about how it could change your healthcare experience.
You hear now a lot from doctors that when they're stumped with a patient, will put the symptoms or the test results into GPT-4 and say, give me the list of potential diagnoses here. I'll pick, I'm the human doctor, but I can't figure it out, just help me with some ideas of unusual things this might be. And you hear great results from that. So that's one early example.
And then if you had to pick the area other than education, where you think it could have the single most beneficial impact on everybody in the audience, but also more broadly on society, what do you think it'll be? Because then the reason I'm saying it is, And the reason we got involved in this is when social media happened, right? When social media exploded about 15 or 20 years ago, no one got there first, other than the social media companies. So it sort of evolved the way the social media companies want. In this case, we can get
I
there.
totally get why you're like pushing on, is it going to be this category or that category? And I must not be explaining it well. But the important thing about this is, think about how much of your function in the world depends on your cognitive abilities and the cognitive abilities of others. And if AI can make that vastly more available, if you can do kind of many of the things you need better, faster, cheaper, at new levels, it's not about this area or that area. It's about the entire economy, big parts of society transforming, becoming way more accessible, way more inclusive. People get way more. I think this is going to be like a quite remarkable golden age. If we are right about this, and of course we could hit a wall, we could be too optimistic, but if to the degree that the availability of intelligence, whatever you might need, legal advice, medical advice, the ability to create a computer program for some idea you have, but if the availability, the quality, the capability of intelligence is going to go way up, the cost of it is going to go down by a factor of 1,000 or 1,000,000. And so people that can't afford legal advice at all can now get it super readily available. People that can't create the great idea for a computer program they have because they can't afford 100 computer programmers can now make that thing happen. This is like a pretty significant reshaping of society and a move towards a world of abundance where everybody gets all of these services. And this thing that has been this incredible limiter, particularly on the less, this is going to help everybody, but I think this will help poorer people with less access the most. And this should be like a pretty significant elevation across the board.
That's great. So sort of for the last couple minutes we have, I want to ask you a question. It sort of flows out of the conversation we just had with Secretary Clinton. This is a huge election year in the United States, right? It's a momentous election year in 24 for the United States, but also around the world, right? We were just in England, you go around the world. 24 is going to be a very, very memorable political year. So my question is, how concerned are you about the potentially damaging impact of AI, deepfakes, et cetera, on misinformation, disinformation, and electoral? And then, more importantly, how do we deal with that, right? How do we deal with that up front in such an important election year?
The thing that I'm most concerned about is I think the new capabilities with AI. We will have, there will be better deepfakes. We're going to sort of, rerun 2020 here. There will be better deepfakes than 2020. But I think people are much more sophisticated than we give them credit for. And people have learned that, you don't believe every image or video that you see. And, that's going to be a problem, but it's a problem that we have, I think, built up some antibodies for. There are going to be a whole bunch of new things, new ways people are going to use this technology. Personalized persuasion, the capability of models to not target a message to the entire internet or a large group, but to one person. That's like a new thing that just wasn't possible at any scale before AI. So we've stood up a big response effort to this. We'll be monitoring very closely, but we're only one company. There are going to be a lot of tools out there. We're definitely nervous about it. It's like one of our very top priorities for the year.
But you are one company, but you're a really important company, and you are, in a funny way, the company that most people think of, right? Because of the success of your launch and early stuff. So you're really looking at this as something where you guys really have to be on top of it.
Big time.
Because my point is, some of your other colleagues in the tech world have, cut their monitoring. I'm thinking of Elon and X and stuff. Have, instead of saying we're going to step up our ability to intervene and prevent that, they sort of let the free for all happen. But you guys are going to really take this seriously.
For sure.
I think that's great. So I just want to say this. It is great, Sam, that you guys are focusing on the kids in the education side of this. I think it is something that everybody in the audience, we have some of the greatest educators and child advocates around the United States and even globally here. And the fact that we can work with you over the next years to make this a technology that can transform our kids' lives, your kids' lives, and everybody else is something that is incredibly powerful to us. So
Yeah, I think this will be a I think not will be. This has already been a transformatively positive thing for education, and it's just the very first glimpse. So looking at what's possible here, seeing what educators and students are doing with it, we're very excited.
So I will say, Sam, thank you very much for coming, and thank you
for
very
having
much
me.
for being here.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.